exposures through the modern life or with the migrants and all. Because there was initially, what happened is to around 15-20 years before, so government was trying very hard to bring them in the mainstream, and government was giving all sort of facilities, then opened a school for them. But another thing, okay, what government did, uh, so this schooling and all these things started not separately, but there was a, whatever the mainstream school, government was putting them in that school, but that was the big problem. And that time what happened is that they are exposed to this alcohol, then this smoking, then gutka, many other things they exposed to this. And due to that, what was happening, they were that gradually within 10 15 years of time, they were losing their infertility rate, and it was reducing, they were so much of reduce of their infertility, and the populations is totally, such was not growing at all. And that actually became a lot of problem for that. Actually, it was a problem for the government of India and Andaman administration, as well as it was a problem for them also, because they are the indigenous people and their number is very very limited. And all of a sudden they are exposed to this type of drugs and other kind of alcohols and all. That actually created a very big problem for them, because traditionally thousands of years they were not consuming anything whatever we consume, like salt on sugar, or is alcohol, or any smoking gutka or anything. But all of a sudden they got exposed to that, and then finally government came out with the idea that okay, the interactions between this indigenous people and the migrants and the settlers, basically those who settled later on after 1947 and then during British period, there is a now clear cut segregations of these people, so that the government can stop the people to provide such type of alcohols and other kind of things whatever we consume, because they are consuming very fresh fruits and fish and other kind of things whatever available there in the forest. So and there seems that they don't have any scripts or they have only oral traditions, and that storytelling through which actually they are disseminating their all informations. And they are very very high in terms of knowledge. I will tell you one story that how they are disseminating things, and how they are knowledgeable about the natures, and how nature behave during tsunami 2004. So Andaman Nicobar was full, hit by this tsunami. At that time, so many people died. But these people, that the Nicobaris, seems they are in the in the mainstream. So many people died because now they are exposed to English education, Hindi educations, and their children are now at par with the migrants and other people. So they are now slowly they moved from their traditional way of living to the modern living. So somewhere they actually missed their own indigenous learning, and their since they're exposed to this modern educations and the Christianity, so they were not focusing on their particular traditions and all. And so when the tsunami hits, they actually this Nicobaris only died in large number among these all indigenous people, and other migrants they also affected. But what happened is in Nicobar, in Little Andaman, Ongis, and in other part, Jarwa and Sompins and all, not even a single person died, and not even their pets also died. What happened is, okay, after the tsunami, after some few 1 or 2 months, actually my in Little Andaman, my brother's wife is the medical in charge for this Ongi. So out of curiosity, we were trying to explore what happened and whether they experience such type of things or not. So they explain that this Wongi particularly, they explain that okay, such type of things their elder generations already experienced in long before, and they had this idea about such type of natural calamities and all. So when there was some kind of symptoms they saw, they took their all belongings and their all pets even, and they just settled there somewhere on the top of the hills. So not even a single person died. Now you think about that, okay, their oral tradition and storytelling, okay, how strongly they were disseminating their all sort of knowledge and other thing with their younger generations. And their two different type of indigenous people are there. One is Negrotites, another one is Mongolites. So one is white skin, another one is black skins, and but their physics is very strong physics. So and more, and then this language has no script and nothing. That is only the dialogue. But now the government is trying to develop some kind of dictionary, and they are trying to preserve this language because all this language and other things are in danger. In danger. And then they have the ecological knowledge, very huge ecological knowledge, because they are sustaining for thousands and thousands years in jungle, so that hunting, fishing and forest use, they are very much equipped with that. But in our place, like Little Andaman, in many other places like Kadamtala, then uh, Tirur, then Nicobars and all. So I was going through certain comparative studies and all, and I was also recalling my childhood. So these people, they are using actually the plants, medicinal plants, and Nicobaris and the other tribal groups, they do not have any interaction because they are living in separate islands. But the roots and the medicinal plants they are using for uh, different purposes actually same. For example, okay, for fever, they whatever the Jarvas is using the medicinal plant, same kind of same plant is used by all other communities. Though there is no connections among these people because they are living in different islands. And then there seems that it is a rituals and other, their rituals and their fishings and all these things, okay, you will find very similar kind of things among all these indigenous people. And then since they are living community based living, so it is basically hunter and gatherers, we can say. They do not have any exposures and other thing in outside. And their languages also, it is not spoke, that language also not known outside of the outside of the Andaman Nicobar. Only that is a very original and indigenously they are speaking their languages. So that language is not similar to any other language, but certain kind of their uh, characteristics is with certain Africa, and then the Mongolites is with other people like in our northeast regions, and then in Mongolia, and then Chinese and all that, such type of some sort of similarities, but it is not as such there is any similarity. So how indigenous these people that we have to think. But this population is declining day by day. Why? Because okay, their populations, as I told you, that all of a sudden they got exposure to fooding styles, and then clothings and other things, and uh, exposed to drugs and all. But uh, that actually became more problematic. That's why that the number you can see, the Ongi is 101, Sompin also very, and Jarwas also around 300 people are there. and and now what is happening, so this all these groups, they are getting slowly exposed to the, language like Hindi and English. So which is actually now it is very difficult for those people, the administrations, to go and bring them or train them, or if they are trying to bring them outside or giving, slowly they are trying to bring outside so that they can live a very happy life, and we can save them. But what is happening? So once they are coming out, but when they are going inside the forest, they are following their rituals and they are living as they used to live thousands years back, like that. So it's becoming more problematic for the administrations to bring them or educate them or uh, bring certain change in their lifestyles. So that is a big challenge. And again, interactions with the local peoples is becoming more problematic, because whenever they are interacting with the local people, and they are getting exposure to this alcohols and other drugs. So government, that is why that now slow process government has started, and some of the people, they have learned their languages, and they are now looking after them, and they become the communicators between this tribal indigenous people and the governments. But most of the time, because of this corruption, huge corruptions, the problem is another problem is because there is a huge corruption, because the government of India is pumping so much of money to preserve them, and to bring them slowly to mainstream. For that, so much of money is government is pumping. But as you know that corruption is one of the biggest problem in our country. Similarly, same thing is happening over there. And then the migrants people. So this is the case of indigenous people, and these migrants people are from East Pakistan, and then from Tamil Nadu, and from Sri Lankan Tamils, and then from Kerala, Malayalam Muslims also they settled there, and from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and from Gujarat to the Tripura, or even any north southeast any northeast regions people are settled there, even Nepali also, and then Burmese also, and then from Burma also people are settled. Then Bhatus also, they came from Southeast Asia. So all are settled there in a very tiny islands, which is actually 36 islands. People are settled there, and seems there is a it is a kind of parachute settlement. All of a sudden, they settle together, and the settlement pattern is that all the religious and the language and different diverse people, they settle together, and so there is no as such dominance of any language or any culture or any religions. Because of that, now people have developed a kind of hybrid kind of things, that people, they speak Bengali also, Tamil also, Hindi also, and English, and the education is now is basically one English. So the migrants people, they are exposed to English and Hindi, and that Nicobaris also, they are also studying in the same school, so they also exposed to that type of Hindi and English educations. So slowly, this indigenous Nicobaris is more tilted towards Hindi and English, and because of the market demand, they are actually becoming isolations from their own traditions and cultures and other things. And since colonial politics and labor migrations and refugee resettlements, that actually created very big problem for this indigenous people, which is actually a concern now. And after the settlement, now the lot of illegal migrants from different parts of India, they are migrating to Andaman Nicobar, and they are encroaching the forest, which is actually this indigenous people highly dependent on that forest and all. And now population also increasing. This illegally they are migrating to Andaman, and they are coming for earning some life. They are not looking for some livelihoods and all. But when they are coming here, they are actually encroaching the land of tribal peoples, which is again a very big problem for them. And they are most of the time they are encountering with these indigenous people. But on the other hand, so these people, the migrants people, they settled in Andaman. So basically, they celebrate most of the festival, whatever celebrated there in India, mainland India. like what Hindus, Christian, and Muslim, whatever they are practicing in mainland India, same kind of things also practiced there in Andaman. But one unique thing about these celebrations about of all the people is that there is no as such dominance of anything. It is a concept that maybe religious practice for Hindu, but it is a festival for all. So we can see a very close cooperations among the people there in Andaman. So diversity, we can see the unity in diversity, and we can say that Andaman Nicobar is a mini India. If you see, and whenever you will go there, that some sort of festivals or some other things is going on, and across the culture, across the religions, people are participating in that. Shreya Madams on a scholar also did a PhD on Motua basically. So though and Madam also aware about it, and people those who are actually interested to know anything about Andaman also aware, and then we can say this Andaman is a very much it is a cradle of living laboratory, we can say, for diversities, and that we are seeing there in Andaman, and Puja, Onam, and then Diwali, Eid, Christmas, all these things celebrated together. There is no as such communal problem there in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, and this indigenous like Nicobaris basically, and they also participate in all festivals and all. So that is actually a very good thing. But on the other hand, since they are now in the mainstream economy, slowly they are actually forgetting their own cultures and tradition, which is very I think it is dangerous. So, and see, interactions between indigenous and when migrants culture, we can say it is a hybrid kind of festival is going on. Social gatherings is all about the hybrid kind of thing, and all the peoples. So all these religions across the religions and others, they are sharing the same markets and schools, which is actually a good thing of unity and diversity. But on the other hand, when we are discussing uh, about the indigenous people, it's becoming more problematic. And food habits and other things and then this Nicobari language and culture that require preservations. Otherwise, okay, now from they were confirmed in the Nicobar Islands. Now, because they are exposed to higher educations and all, so they are now spreading all over Andaman and Nicobar, which is actually they, since they live in community base, but now since they are exposed to the mainstream economy, the largest populations from Nicobar, they are migrating to different parts of Andaman, and they are settling over there. So because of that, they are losing their cultures and traditions, and their childrens are actually exposed to English and Hindi education. So it's now becoming very problematic for them to maintain their language, even if they whatever, because that they do not have any scripts. It is they're transmitting. It is they're transmitting their language through dialogues and all. So now it is very much required how we can preserve this, and then on the other hand, this Christian missionaries influence is there, which is actually provided them very high living standard. But though they are getting so high living standard facilities and all due to the exposure of the Christianity, uh, but on the other hand, now they are forgetting their own uh, cultures and traditions because they are now moved in different parts of Andaman Nicobar, whereas in those places, these Nicobaris are maybe one or two families are there, and during their festivals and all these things, also it's become more problematic to travel to Nicobar Islands because Nicobar Island is again isolated from mainland, from the capital of Andaman Nicobar, that is now Sri Vijaypuram, which is actually previously it was Port Blair. It is 2 night journey by ship from main Port Blair to Nicobar. It's 2 night journey. But the ship goes via Little Andaman and then cross 10-degree channel and then to Nicobar and to up to Kachal. so which is actually is very difficult for them to travel all the time after taking leaves, and also these people and the children's in school and other things is also a very much problem. So they don't get as such holidays and all. They don't go back to their own place. So that is actually because of that. Now the Nicobaris, those who are living in Nicobar, is demanding for some kind of solutions, and they are not ready to give the lands to the government for any kind of development, because they are losing their identity, and they celebrate actually two type of festivals, which is actually Osura Fest, and then Cannon race, that you can see that in Kerala. So that boat race, they have these two type of thing, and one is Osura Fest is all about their when their ancestor is dying, they are burying them, and then after that they are collecting that bones, and then they are preserving it, and they are giving high respect. That also is kind of celebration they are doing, and then their marriage rituals and other thing is very very different from others. The marriage ritual is when a girl is attaining age and it is above 18 years old. So they have a kind of hut kind of things. They have outside of the village. They will construct some kind of hut, and the boys and girls, those who are actually attaining your marriage age, they will be going there, and then they will be choosing. They are actually choosing their own partner. So it is given, the full freedom is given to the boys and girls to choose their own partner. But when they are going out of the Nicobar, so such type of things, that practice and other things is gradually declined. And then uh, uh, this state and the Andaman Nicobar actually doing another good thing to bring everything together, is that state support cultural fairs. So in every January, the month of January, there is a festival. In that festival, all migrants people, the settlers, and the and indigenous people, the Adivasis also, they come together and then display their own arts, culture, and then musics and everything. So that there can be a harmonious society, and they can live together. So because most of the time, the local people and the indigenous people are encountering with each other, and when they're getting exposures, mingling with each other, they get exposure to these drugs and all. So that government is creating a kind of environment, and giving it is a kind of awareness program government is running, so that people also can understand their importance, and their sustainability also can be ensured. So such type of initiative already it is there, and uh, food, food, food as a cultural identity also is there. Indigenous diets, forest products, seafoods, and all they are consuming. And on the other hand, this migrant diet is rice, fish, curry, uh, many other thing, whatever South Indians, North Indian, everything is mixed together. If you visit any hotels, you will find different type of dishes in one hotel itself. South Indian, North Indian, and then the Northeast, whatever you will get in one place, including the Nicobari food also you will find in a hotel. So that is a beautiful things that you can see regarding this food and cultural identity that actually creates. And then uh, and in the villages and in Nicobar also, indigenous storytelling is also a kind of festival they organize. And whenever these people, because that indigenous storytelling is what is happening is, it is not in the Nicobari language, or it is actually now they are telling all these story in English. So which is actually, you can see the transformations of their culture, traditions, and all, and how much they can disseminate their own cultures and other things through the English language rather than their own. So whenever there is, but another thing is that since the other populations, they should know, the other settlers, they should know about their cultures and traditions. So the elder people, they are actually telling their story, their livings, and all these things in English and Hindi also, so that people can understand and they can celebrate their festival also very together. So that also another story is going on, and then uh,
Excuse
but
me,
in
sir.
that area,
We have one more speaker to go. So could you
okay,
wind
so
us up it?
I will finish it just
Yeah,
1 or 2
thank you.
minutes. So.
Yeah, yes, sir. We have one more speaker. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So what I personally feel is that this Indus Island seems two different type of people. One is that the thousands of years they are living over there, and then another community is from mainland India. They settled over there. So which is actually this cultures, language, and all other things is very much different. But that how best the both communities and the both different indigenous people and the migrant people they can live together. That the government obviously has taken certain initiatives, but that is not enough. Now, since the Andaman Nicobar is strategically very important, the government is now taking different lands and then these islands, and they are trying to develop it, and that actually becoming more problematic. And then environmental clearance also given, and now Nicobaris and the southern islands, those who are living there, tribal communities, they are actually now fighting against the government, how to protect their own indigeneity, and all that's becoming problematic. That's why needs for preservation and coexistence is should be the key. Then only that both the communities can sustain over there in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. If there is anything that I can.
Thank you, sir. We can go to Sai's presentation and maybe take the questions later.
Thank you so
Geetha,
much.
you can invite Sai.
Yes, ma'am. Now let's move on to the paper presenter, Ms.Sai Shri. She is a teacher by profession and a runner by passion. She is currently pursuing MA English from EFLU Hyderabad through distance education. Ms. Sai Shri is on to present the paper on the title The Last Wave, an island novel by Pankaj Sheshriya from the lenses of different perspectives.
The Last Wave, an island novel through the lenses of different perspectives. Overview of the novel. This is a novel by Pankaj Shesharia, and he is a journalist and a conservationist. This is a contemporary fiction set in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, blending ecological exploration, cultural tensions, and personal journeys. The pivotal point is the 2004 tsunami, which also acts as a climax, both with respect to the broader perspective and the personal lives of the characters. The novel offers a glimpse into the complex sociocultural and environmental landscape of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, impacted by external forces like colonial powers, natural disasters, and modern development. Key themes include the fragility of island ecosystems, the resilience of the human communities living there, and the persistent legacy of history. The novel is analyzed from different perspectives and through different reader lenses, breaking down key elements like plot, narrative structure, and significances. The plot and the narrative structure. The novel follows Harish. Harish faces a lot of personal and professional setbacks. He is a researcher journalist navigating the islands. His encounters with the Jarawa and Seema is also another researcher. Seema draws him to the ecological, cultural history, romance, both with the island and with Seema, political life, and present day challenges of the Andamans. Set across the island's forests, coasts, and research camps, the plot interlaces two romantic arcs. That is, as I said, with the um, island and with Seema. It's both being physical and metaphorical, allows exploration of various interconnected stories and perspectives, often through the eyes of different characters, moving between personal introspection, historical accounts, and observations of the natural environment. The 2004 Indian ocean tsunami devastates both lives and landscapes. Seema is lost, Harish survives, and hospital scenes reveal Jarawa measles outbreak rather than the tsunami deaths. Key plot include Harish's personal journey of self-discovery, his research on the Jarawa tribe, and the broader historical context of the Andamans. This 290-page novel is divided into through books and multiple chapters, and this narrative blends documentary textures, statistics, historical notes, ecological detail with character-driven scenes, producing a reportage tinged realism. The key characters include Harish. As I said, he is a young researcher journalist and he is seeking purpose. He is also facing a personal and setback, which is failed marriage because of irreconcilable differences with his wife. He is seeking purpose and grappling with personal setbacks. He becomes immersed in the island's mysteries with the island's human and natural landscapes. Seema is an anthropologist and she is a local born. I'll tell you what local born is. An anthropologist, local born, researching socio-economic evolution of the Andaman's local bonds, is deeply connected to the island's history and its people, particularly the Jarawa tribe, providing a crucial insider perspective. She is super proud of her cultural heritage. David Bhaskaran is the director of the Institute for Island Ecology. A knowledgeable and passionate figure who guides Harish, offers insights into the island's ecological and social dynamics. Uncle Payne is a migrant settler. He is a local guide and a repository of island knowledge. The Jarawa is the indigenous tribe, central to the novel's exploration of cultural survival, isolation, and interaction with the outside world. The novel presents indigenous population, their isolation, resilience, and vulnerability to external influences, and their interaction with the outside world as its central themes. Through the different perspectives, characters' perspective, the book discusses the island's issues from the perspective of each character. Historical perspective, we're talking about what the novel presents as British penal convicts, British penal colonies, the convicts, the settler migrations, and the colonial land and identity trauma. Environmentalist perspective focuses on ecosystem fragility, deforestation, species loss, and climate trauma. Anthropological perspective, Jarawa tribes isolation, cultural erosion, ethical dilemmas of outsider interaction, and portraying local tribes as jungles. Social activist perspective highlights tourism's exploitation, commodification, cultural erasure, governmental neglect, and advocacy for tribal rights. Literary critic perspective, analyzing the fusion of fiction and reportage. Narrative structure combining historical, ecological, and personal elements. Local islander perspective, insider experiences reflecting settler tribal, insider outsider dynamics, evolving community identities, and resilience. Tourist ecotourist perspective, examination of how tourism commodifies, exploits the indigenous people, exposing voyeuristic attitudes and its dehumanizing effects. Feminist perspective, we are talking about Seema, who is a local born and she is also a researcher as opposed to the savage native or the savage local born as they are being portrayed. Role of female characters challenging patriarchal, colonial, and societal structures. Medical and health perspective exposes the medical emergencies and lack of services. Perspective settlers, the descendants of convicts, reflect on their ambiguous status, as in they are both portrayed as marginalizers and marginalized. Researcher and journalist Harish, Seema, and David, as we discussed before, they are struggling with their own complicity, limitations in understanding, and ethical dilemmas of representing others, especially as issues of boundary drawing, objectification, and voyeurism surface in this book. Tribal characters, the Jarawa, the tribe, are voiced more indirectly, filtered through settler or researcher perspectives, underscoring both mutual incomprehensions and the dangers of epistemic violence inherent in external scrutiny. State, police, judiciary, politicians, represent shifting official attitudes, sometimes repression, sometimes paternalism, seldom authentic consultation. Seldom authentic consultation. Characters reflect on being swamped. The local bonds by new migrants, the Jarawa by settler society. The narrative presents these themes as an ongoing dynamic contestation where loss, adaptation, erasure, and resurgence coexist. I feel I'm watched every time. There is nobody around, but I feel I am being watched. I go there because I like the forest, and I believe they know that too. Historical perspective, the historical context of British colonial rule and penal settlement is a significant backdrop. The novel touches upon the establishment of Port Blair as a penal colony, forcibly displacing and fragmenting indigenous tribes such as the Great Andamani, Songe, and Jarawa, stereotyping them as junglies, reflecting colonial prejudices and mutual understanding. The colonial administration's new social categories, local bonds, encroachers, criminal tribes, often privileged convicts turned settlers over indigenous people, leading to ongoing struggles over legitimacy, citizenship, and belonging. The Japanese occupation during World War II is also alluded to, highlighting another period of external control and its impact on the social dynamic. Environmentalist perspective, this talks about how the developments also affect the environment and the tribes. The novel provides detailed portrayal of the Andaman's unique flora and fauna, the creeks, the mangrove ecosystem, deforestation, species loss, saltwater crocodiles, giant leatherback turtles, etc., and its inhabitants. It highlights, as I said, human encroachment and rapid human-driven environmental degradation, such as logging and development on the pristine, pure environment. The book raises concerns about scientific forestry conservation, the ethics of research, and the need to protect fragile, weak ecosystems like the Jarawa Reserve, questioning their validity. The Jarawa are proud people, they have dignity, they are the real people of the forest. This is their home. If you come stealing, what kind of man would I be if I let you in without fighting? This was Uncle Payne to Harish. The Andaman Trunk Road is depicted as a symbol of development, but is also criticized as a goddamn road that encroaches upon Jarawa territory and disrupts their life. It questions the validity of scientific forestry practices that led to deforestation and habitat destruction, impacting both wildlife and tribal communities. The book also raises awareness about illegal activities like timber logging and poaching within the Jarawa Reserve and the challenges in enforcing regulation. The text vividly describes the nesting of giant leatherback turtles, symbolizing the beauty of nature and the cycle of life. Harish and Seema witness the nesting process, highlighting the turtles' struggle and instinctual behavior. This talks about how absorbed they get when they view this. Anthropological perspective, Seema's research on the socio-economic evolution of the Andaman's local bonds provides an anthropological lens, highlights Jarawa's tribes' isolation, cultural erosion, and ethical dilemmas of outsider interaction challenging indigenous sovereignty. The island saw an influx of various groups, including Montauk, Bantus, and families from Burma. The timber industry and a British Navy led to increased labor recruitment from mainland India and Burma. There are many people coming into this island and encroaching them. Seema's discomfort with DNA sampling of indigenous people raises concerns about consent, exploitation, about the role of the outsider scholar. When the decade of the 20s slid into the next one, nearly 30 different languages were being spoken by the people inhabiting the Andaman. This talks about the variety of languages that are being spoken in the Andaman. The islands had truly become a cultural melting point. Literary critic perspective, the last wave extends Indian English fiction into an underrepresented region, the Andaman Nicobar Archipelago, fusing activist knowledge with novelistic form. Its eco-critical lens centers on bioregionalism and climate trauma, highlighting how development, roads, logging, population influx erode indigenous worlds of the tribes and other species alike. A nuanced portrayal of the daily realities, tensions, livelihood, and cultural survival efforts among the Jarawa settlers and researchers. Sharia himself, a researcher on conservationist, uses fiction and metaphors as a socio-political commentary on conservation, tribal rights, and modernity. Its effect on the fragile ecology on the Andaman Islands. The local bonds are being swamped by a tide from the outside that shows no sign of receding. Local Islander perspective, the novel explores the complex relationship between the penal settlements, administrative settlers, and the indigenous tribes, particularly the Jaraba. The impact of settlers and their activities on the Jarawas' traditional way of life is a recurring theme, raising questions about encroachment, cultural survival, and erosion of tribal autonomy. The novel contrasts experience of local bonds. Local bonds are the descendants of convicts and settlers. Like they could be Burmese, they could be anybody who came and settled there as a convict or as a settler or as a migrant, as a direct legacy of penal colonialism with that of the firstborn. Firstborns, we are talking about the original tribes such as the Jarawa, the Onge, and the Great Andamanis, emphasizing their millennia-long rootedness and their vulnerability. The identities of the local bonds were often overlooked in broader historical narratives. The identities of the firstborn, the tribes, though 20,000 years old or ignored, could be anywhere between 20,000 to 60,000 actually. The novel portrays the Jarawa as the firstborns of the islands with a history of 20,000 years deep connection to their ancestral land and tradition. Their existence is presented as delicate balance threatened by external forces such as encroachment, disease, civilizing efforts, and the encroaching modern world. The narrative questions the civilizing efforts, the impact of policies that disrupt their traditional way of life, dangers of cultural assimilation, and it highlights the Jarawa's resilience. The book highlights ethical dilemmas surrounding contact, conflict, development, preservation of indigenous cultures, respecting their autonomy. The tourist or eco-tourist perspective, the text addresses the emergence of Jarawa tourism, criticizing the phenomenon. The commodification of indigenous cultures for commercial gain, its impact on the tribe and their environment. Critics Enchanting Islands package and Jarawa tourism are presented as examples of how commercial interests can exploit and endanger indigenous people, romanticizing intrusion while endangering the natural heritage. The novel makes a startling observation of exploitation of the Jarawa with shameless voyeurism, complete vulgarity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of meeting primitive naked people. Satirizing acts literary irony on exploitation. Did you have some good Jarawa sighting? Harish fumes. Are they wild animals to be sighted on a safari through the forest? Feminist perspective, the novel highlights women's agency in a male-dominated narrative. Seema's PhD research challenges colonial narratives, countering portrayal of Jarawa's women's savage stereotypes. Seema, unlike most educated islanders of her generation who moved to mainland India, decided to return home, emphasizing her proactive role. Seema drives plot through intellect, not just romance. Seema felt that vintage of her own people, local bonds, did not extend beyond a century, that of the first bonds. Indigenous tribe hailed from so far back in the past that it not had been fully acknowledged or identified yet. If we are local bonds, shouldn't the Jarawas, the Onge, the Great Andamanis be considered the first bonds? Seema's drive is based on the genotype research that indicated these people being here for anywhere between 20,000 and 60,000 years, as we discussed before. Medical and health perspective, Seema gets hurt. He injures her ankle, but then there is a delay in getting medical help. This talks about how the primary healthcare centers work in Kadamtala. Harish's journey. Harish is a 31-year-old from Hyderabad, grappling with self-doubt and a sense of underachievement, working in odd jobs, He has a failed marriage, he suffers a failed marriage. He decides to take a break from his routine life and joins his friend Prasad on a trip to the Andaman Islands seeking solace and a fresh start. Begins working with the Institute for Island Ecology, assisting with research and fieldwork. Over time, Harish begins to find purpose in the islands, immersing himself in the lives of the settlers and the indigenous Jarawa people. He develops a close friendship with Seema, which evolves into deeper feelings, though he struggles to express them. Harish survives the devastating tsunami, but the loss of Seema leaves him grappling with grief and a renewed sense of responsibility. His interactions with characters like Sri Kumar Kutti and Seema shape his understanding of the islands, his own place within them, and his own responsibilities. Seema's journey. Seema is a 27-year-old girl from the Andaman Islands belonging to the community of local bonds with a sense of pride in her heritage. She moves to Delhi for higher education, completing her master's in anthropology and registering for a PhD on the socio-economic evolution of the local bonds. She returns to the islands to reconnect with her roots and focus on her research, moving to the Institute of Island Ecology to escape familial pressures. In the islands, she is in a relationship with Amit, but their long distance relationship ends painfully. And this pain, she finds solace in her friendship with Harish, and her feelings for him deepen over time, though, like Harish, she also struggles to articulate them. Seema tragically loses her life in the tsunami, leaving behind a poignant letter expressing her love for Harish and her hopes for their future in the Andamans. She is passionate about
Sai, can
anthropology.
you wind up a bit, it's taking time.
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
She is passionate about anthropology and chooses to study her own community, and her research delves into history, identity, and struggles of the local bonds.
So
And
actually, people can read the novel for themselves. Don't tell them everything. So you
okay,
can,
ma'am. All right.
yeah, leave a bit of a teaser. Yeah. Thank you.
There is something interesting towards the end, as in Erema, a Jarawa elder who has lost his daughter in the tsunami, consoles Harish in the epilogue, symbolizing a shared cross-cultural meaning and connection forged through tragedy. The contact parties with the Jarawa are depicted critically, where anthropologists like the character Anil Tripathi highlight their exploitative nature. The narrative questions the imposition of civilization and attempts to teach indigenous people ways of life that are alien to them. The novel reflects on whether external help truly benefits Jarawa or leads to their loss of freedom and cultural erosion. The idea of negotiating with the Jarawa and the challenges of understanding their world are explored. The novel suggests that the true last wave is not a natural disaster, but the cumulative impact of history, memory, and human ambition on a place that has survived cataclysms, both geological and colonial. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. In the interest of time, I would request, Sai and Professor Bibhuti, each of you can share your takeaway from each other's papers. And with that, we can close the session. Sai, can you share what you learned from Sir's paper, and Sir can comment on
Ma'am,
yours?
reading this novel is different, and he, as an insider, talking about it, it told me about so many things, as in the recent developments, as in he was talking about school and the time it takes for the journey, all this. So that kind of renews our perspectives. This
Okay.
is what I
So,
feel, ma'am.
okay. Yeah, he talked about the composition of the
Yeah, the
Andaman Island.
statistics.
Yeah, the people who comprise
Mm.
the people who live on the island. So you have something to say on Bibhuti, sir? Professor Bibhuti?
Yeah. So
Any comments on
actually,
Sai's paper?
yeah, take away. So actually, I want to say this that since the Andaman Nicobar is the place where you can find all the people from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, as well as the indigenous people. Actually, we have to create a kind of environment for them so that their sustainability can be guaranteed, and then preservations of their culture and tradition, because their knowledge is very different, and that is medicinal knowledge and ecological knowledge which we can use, because we use for the migrants people, those who actually settled over there, as that place is require a different type of because since that place geography, then its climates and all other things is very different, and the indigenous people are very highly knowledgeable regarding regarding sustainability, and that can be, the government of India and then administrations, they are trying to cope up with this, but because of this modernizations, and that we are focusing on the part of modernizations also, and then militarizations also, that actually creating problem for this indigenous people. It is our duty to preserve these people and their cultures and traditions. Then only we can ensure, as Shreya madam also said in her presentations, that though modernity is there, but we need for our next generations, that there must be something that we can we have to keep, that maybe the fresh and very much original, and otherwise there will be a problem, and then human health and other things is going to decline, because we are in a race of modernity. So we must learn from them, then how and what they are doing, and they're living, how they're living, and how they were living for thousands and thousands of years. There was no problem, but now problem started because of modernity. So there must be a kind of balance between the modernity and the indigeneity, that only can ensure the human existence on the earth. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Jeevita, can you propose a vote of thanks, please?
Yes, ma'am. As we come to the close of today's session, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all our speakers, participants, and organizers for making this event a success. Our insights, questions, and presence have added great value to the symposium. We have today's discussions have inspired new perspectives and deeper understanding, and we look forward to welcoming you again in your coming upcoming sessions. Thank you all and have a wonderful good night, sir and ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Srilata. Thank you, Shreya. Vibhuti, sir. Thank you, sir.